Today we're arranging a song on the Synthstrom Deluge. On my last song from scratch video, I've got a few comments and messages requesting that I do something on the arranger. I've got to admit, I'm a little hesitant to even try this. I just don't know how interesting it's going to be. But let's give it a try and see what's going to happen. The reason I don't think it's going to be all that interesting is when you're arranging a song, it's a lot of listening back. Sometimes I spend hours. Often I spend days where I'll get a rough arrangement going, come back, listen in a day and go, I don't like it. So I'm not sure what they look like or how this is going to go, but sure. Let's give it a try. So let's talk about the arranger. The arranger is kind of what sold me on the Deluge. I've had other groove boxes and they're fun making loops, and I could see the draw of using them live or using them as drum machines and stuff like that. But unless you're recording, your live kind of set, you can't really make a song. And I'm a songwriter. I like making songs. So for me, the arranger was like, I got to figure out how this thing works. And I love it. It is a little tricky. It takes some getting used to. Let's dive in, huh? This is the same song that I was working on my last song from scratch. I call it Ghost Protocol for now. That name is, you just got to name it something when you save it. So a couple things here. Let's just play it back and you can take a listen at where we left off with the song from scratch. So as you can totally see, it's significantly more tracks than what was in that songs for scratch video. I mentioned in both of my songs for scratch video that I try to keep it between 8 to 10 tracks. I'm usually unsuccessful in that. I'm significantly unsuccessful in that on this track. But it is important to note that a lot of these, like for example, these here are just all the drum tracks, right? That's just variations of the same track. So it's things like just the kick, like here we got just the kick and snare, maybe just hi-hat. Yeah, so it's just pieces. So when I'm getting ready to do an arrangement, the first thing I do is I get all my pieces together. So a lot of these are just variations of the same thing. I should note, actually, one thing that changed from that song from scratch, you should go back and check it out, but I was using a sample for my drum loop that had a really cool beat to it, but it was really loose and it was freaking impossible to work with. I spent a lot of time trying to get the drums to line up to the sample, but not only was that difficult, by sliding everything in the drum sequence to match that sample, I would have to do the same thing for any part that I wrote on top of that as well. And it was just getting to be too much of a headache. So I actually tossed it out and I just sequenced my own drum beat. Here, I'll play it for you real quick. We'll just solo it. So, I mean, it's very similar to the beat that I was using in that track, but I sequenced it myself. I'm using my own kit. It's a custom kit that I built. And it just kind of made it so that the song really gelled a lot better. It's just kind of tied it all together and gives me a lot more control. So I said bye-bye to that sample. I gave up on it. It was just too difficult. So yeah, I got a bunch of variations on that. The other cool thing that I did is my bandmates were in town. I played them this loop and they were really into it. So they actually wrote a couple parts and I recorded them and resampled them back into the Deluge so that we could use those. So I got this cool little guitar riff thing that's in a weird off time too. It's gonna sound super cool as maybe like a break. Not quite a solo, but something kind of similar to that. Let's see what else we got here. I think this is the Omni chord. Oh my God, I love the Omni chord. It's just instant magic. Listen to this thing. Oh, it's just lovely. Oh, so good. And then I got some other guitars and I also found some vocal samples that I think might be fun to use from an old movie. So that's the basic track layout. That's what we're working with. So a couple caveats. While this looks like a lot, when I go into arranger mode by pushing song one more time, it's actually less. It's still more than I'd normally like to have. It's going to make arranging kind of a pain in the ass because voices will start dropping. One caveat is if you've arranged your song mode in a way that you like, say, like typically I like to go drums, bass, melody, etc., etc. I've got a certain order that I like to do my tracks in. They're not necessarily going to be the same when you come over here. And the reason for that is the way it works in arranger view. Each one of these green lights is a different track or a different clip, I should say, but they're put in the order that they were created. So if you created your drum beat like I did way later because you resequenced it yourself, it's not necessarily going to be at the top anymore. So one of the first things that I like to do is just kind of rearrange where the tracks are lying so that it's a little clearer how I like to arrange. So I'm just going to kind of sample them and listen to them real quick. And okay, that's my main piano. That's my bass. That's my normal, my pretty little OP1 line. That's percussion. I usually like to have my percussion all the way up at the top, so I'm going to put that up there. And you can just move them just like you do normally. Okay, that's going to be my main drums. So the other thing is, looked like I had way more tracks in song view over here. 5 of them alone are drums. But the way it'll do it over here, it's only on one track. The way you get the different colors and the different patterns is you hold it down and you just switch it and it'll switch. So now that's probably just the kick. Yeah. So if you look in here, it corresponds to all the different colors you have over here. And you can just flip between them really quick in song view. I don't want drums yet. I'm just arranging. I know I'm going to start with the piano, so I'm just going to go ahead and lay one of those in there. I know I got another bass. Yeah, I want that guy in there too. Those are my 2 basses. Okay. And the rest, you know, I probably am not going to care too much about the order. All right, so this is just kind of an order that I like to work with. There's 2 ways that I'll do it. Typically, like I said, I always like to have percussion at the top, drums next, and then usually I'll have bass or some kind of, in this case, it's piano. In fact, I'm gonna move that down. I like the bass to be close to there. From there, it's just kind of what order they come in, or I don't know, just a rough semblance of something that makes sense in my crazy little brain. So there's 2 ways that we can go about an arrangement. One way to do it is you can actually record in this mode and just, you know, you would play a few different tracks, turn them off as you want, things like that, and you can record it. You can record that performance directly into the arranger. And a lot of times that's a really nice way to go, because if you already have an idea or you just have a particularly good performance, then it'll just plot everything to all these tracks and you have a good basis for your first pass and you can just clean it up right here. That's one way to do it. I think the way I'm going to do this song, because I don't have a great vision yet for how I want to arrange this song, is I'm just going to dive in and just start laying things down on the grid and see what happens. I know I want to start with the piano because it's kind of crazy. So in the arrangement pass, this is not only where I'm going to kind of go from interesting loop or cool parts, it's where it shines. It's where you make it into a song, where you polish it out. So this is also where I'll do a lot of my automation. Some of these tracks have a little bit of automation already going on them, but I won't do the automation pass first. I'll do a rough arrangement first, thinking in my head, you know, okay, I'm going to want to filter past this, or I'm going to want to add delay here. Like I think about those things while I'm laying it out, but I don't do it on the initial pass. I save that till the end, till the arrangement itself is working, because then it's just like little ear candy to put on top, right? All right, so I think I want to start with the piano on this one because it's just so cool. And then maybe come in with some percussion, kind of like what I did, honestly, I did this pretty close to this when at the end of the song scratch video. This is probably where we're going to want to drop in, but maybe I'll start with just a kick. I don't know. Let's see. Like I said, it's a lot of listening back and just kind of experimenting with stuff. Switch to get the snare in there. Okay. I don't want to drop the bass until probably here. But I'm actually thinking it might be cool to use one of my vocals to kind of hint.
Yes, magic.
I'm not sure what this one is, so I'm going to take a listen.
I don't want realism, I want magic.
Okay, so I want that. So now you're seeing the reason why I would prefer to try to stay like, say, 8 to 10 tracks is I can't see vertical, you know, the whole thing. It's kind of a pain in the butt. All right, so I'm going to be here.
Yes.
I think we want to come in there.
Stop.
Like I said, just a lot of playing back and just playing around.
I don't want realism, I want magic.
Don't you stop talking nonsense.
I don't know if I want to write on. I'm gonna let it. Let's get a little.
I don't want realism, I want magic.
Just stop talking
Don't
nonsense.
you stop talking nonsense.
That's actually kind of cool. If it comes with the.
I don't want realism, I want magic.
Don't you stop talking nonsense.
Let's take this one.
I don't want realism, I want magic.
Don't you stop talking nonsense.
Sure, this is a good start. All right, I feel like when she says magic, it'd be cool if there was some little accent in there.
I don't want realism, I want magic.
See, originally I was thinking this should go in here.
I don't want realism, I want magic.
Don't you stop talking nonsense.
Maybe a little later. So I synced up these.
I don't want realism, I want magic.
Don't you stop talking nonsense.
I sync these to the beat, but I don't really care. They're just
I
talking.
don't want realism, I want magic.
Don't you stop talking nonsense.
Here. Let's do one of my different options.
I don't want realism, I want magic.
Don't you stop talking nonsense.
Yeah,
Stop.
magic.
Don't you stop talking nonsense.
I wonder if we want one of the basses in there.
Don't you stop talking nonsense.
I don't know. Maybe the Yes Yes Magic should come in a little bit later.
I don't want realism, I want magic.
Don't you stop talking nonsense.
Sweet. Okay, that's a good start. So I should warn you guys, like I said, it's a lot of playback. I'll probably edit some of this out. I don't know. I'm not great at sitting on a groove for a long time. I'm always looking, where can I add something? As soon as I start getting a little bored, or I think someone else is getting a little bored, that's when I want to add something, whether it's another element or just a vocal or something. I just have too much experience doing pop and, working toward getting stuff on radio and things like that. So it's just too built into my DNA to like groove on something like a house record would or like ambient music would. And I love that stuff, but I suck at doing it because I'm just always like, oh no, I got to find the next interesting thing. So a lot of this listening back is doing exactly that. It's thinking, okay, as a listener at this spot, I need to add something. I need to put something else in. I do like this main groove of just the piano and the bass though. So I'm going to go 2 measures on that before I go into the next thing. And I'm not sure what I'm going to add yet.
I want magic.
Don't you stop talking nonsense.
Toward the end of that second measure, I think we're going to want to bring something in. That I'm not bringing in for a while because it's magical. Maybe this. Let's bring that guy in. Yeah, see, that's just kind of at the back measure. It's going to lead in to whatever I'm going to do next here. And it might even be cool to just drop the kick here. Let's do, I think I have one that's everything but. Maybe it's that one. Let's take a listen. No, that's just that. I think it's this one. Sometimes it's nice to just like drop the kick. I think the other one was the right one. Let's do this one, but let's also kill the bongos. The cool thing about the arranger mode is you can cut tails of things. So even though the measure's like super long, you can just trim it right off. I wish you could do it the other way too. Like for example, this thing that I just added here, it doesn't actually start till right here, but I can't trim the front end. I could only trim off the back end. Maybe they'll fix that with a firmware update. Who knows? Yeah, see, that'll be a nice little just drop before we go back into this next part. Keep that going. I really want to wait for that Omni chord because it's so magical. I might bring a guitar in there. Let's try that. I'm going to start from the top and just see how we're going so far.
I don't want realism, I want magic.
Don't you stop talking nonsense.
So I think that guitar is just a little quiet. I'm turning it up just a bit. I don't worry too much about the mix right now for a couple reasons. One, I'll do that once I have the arrangement more figured out because it'll make it more obvious what things need to come down, when things need to go up. I can tell this guitar definitely needs to come up a bit, so I might even need to saturate it some because I just can't hear it. The other reason I don't care about the mix too much here is the ones in my song sketch series are just straight out of the Deluge. They're just a stereo mix, but any of these tracks that I'm going to pursue further, I track out individually into my DAW and I'll mix it there. That's why I don't care too much about levels just yet. Other than being able to hear it in the mix, obviously. This one sounds good. Just kill that other thing. This one feels a little loud to me, so I'm going to kill it just a bit. Also try this one instead. That actually might be good on there. Sure. So I listen back and forth to my transitions like a lot because those are the most important parts, right? Those are the parts that there's a dynamic shift. So what do we got? We got 1, 2, 3, 4. So naturally you're going to probably want a fourth before we do something, like whether that's break it down or introduce a new part. So do another one to start. I'm not too precious with my main drum beats right now. I mean, obviously I changed this one. I changed that one because I knew I was going to introduce a guitar, and it's kind of nice to do something a little different when you're introducing a new part. But that's definitely something, again, once I have the rough full arrangement out, that I'm going to spend a little more time in, where I'm going to be like, okay, here, I just want the kick here, you know, things like that. Right now, I'm mostly trying to get the basic structure kind of organized first before I start tweaking too much on that kind of stuff. Not too sure about this pad with the guitar. Not too bad. It's only on the back half, so I might change my mind later. That happens. Might bring one of the vocals back in somewhere around there. Maybe not that one though. Maybe this one. That's bad. So I'm already getting voices dropped, and I don't even have that many. I mean, I got percussion, drums, 2 basses, the piano, that pad, and the guitar. And just with that, I was already getting voices dropping. The guitar was dropping out. And it's just an audio sample. It's not even a synth, so it shouldn't be taxing it too much.
I don't want realism, I want magic.
Yep, it's dropping out there too. Dang. That's when you have to get creative. And that's actually one of the things, I should stop there. That's actually one of the things I like about the Deluge. It's really easy to DAW, especially with the way that I make music, to just layer the crap out of everything. And with this, because voices start to drop, it forces me to be like, okay, where can I cut back? Where can I trim down? And it's creativity and constraint.
I don't want realism, I want magic.
So here, we're going to want to break it down a little bit. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? This is a trick I like to do. I feel like it needs to break down right there, especially since the vocal, I don't want realism, I want magic. That might be a good chance to institute this. Like, I mean, we can just test it real quick. It'd be more than just that, but...
I don't want realism, I want magic. I don't want realism, I want magic.
That was the piano, okay. Oof.
I don't want realism, I want magic.
It's kind of cool. I think it was better over there, though.
I don't want realism, I want magic.
Don't you stop talking nonsense.
The main thing is, I think this might be a little bit too soon for a first breakdown. So what I like to do, not that we should be concerned about time, it should just be about what sounds right. But 30 seconds in and you're already doing a breakdown, that's a little sketch. So what I'll do a lot of times is I'll actually, this is so janky, but I'll play and I'll hit my stopwatch at the same time and see where we're at.
I don't want realism, I want magic.
Don't you stop talking nonsense.
Yes, yes, magic.
Okay, so that's not so bad. So a minute in, it felt right to me to start there, and I think my instincts were good. Like a minute, that's not so bad. Most of my songs tend to be in the 3 and 4 minute range because, like I said, I can't get rid of my pop/radio tendencies. So what are you gonna do? So 1 minute in, that doesn't feel so bad. I wonder about bringing this in a little bit earlier, though. This is kind of my main melody line, and I haven't even introduced it yet.
I don't want realism, I want magic.
Don't you stop talking nonsense.
I actually wonder about maybe doing that instead of the guitar. Pretty good.
I don't want.
Don't you stop talking nonsense.
Voice is dropping again. It's too bad.
I don't want realism, I want magic.
Don't you stop.
Might be nicer. It's forcing me to think about how to simplify things.
I don't want realism, I want magic.
Don't you stop talking nonsense.
I don't know if I want that melody in yet. Kind of liked not doing it yet. Bring this on.
I don't want.
Don't you stop talking nonsense.
Let's try that. Like I said, just a lot of trying different stuff, seeing what works.
I don't want realism, I want magic.
Don't you stop talking nonsense.
That's pretty nice. Yep, I like that. Yeah, I had a feeling this one's pretty heavy.
I don't want realism, I want magic.
Don't you stop talking nonsense.
I feel like kick, then probably kick snare.
I don't want.
Let's try it from the top and see what we got.
Don't you stop talking nonsense.
I don't want realism, I want magic.
Don't you stop.
Okay, a couple things. I want to take this off because so I'm making a custom clip of this one. The reason is I want to cut the front half of the sample. So I want it to start here. So I just want the back half on this particular track. So I'm going to go to waveform. I'm going to slice it back. And that should do it. Let's take this. Boom. So that's the way you have to do the back half. That's what I was saying. Like, I wish you could clip the fronts sometimes because you just want the back half of a phrase, or like sometimes it's a fill. In this case, I wanted the back half of that guitar line, and that's the only way you could really do it. You know what I might do, actually? I might send this one back. So this is something I have a feeling I'm going to want to use more than once. So I'm actually going to send it back to here. And what that's doing is it's giving it a color. And now it's a colored track that I could use again. So before it was red. Now I have a blue one too. So I know I have a version where it's just the back half.
I don't want realism, I want magic. Yes, magic.
Right. Cool. Let's take a listen. And I think, we're in a pretty good spot.
I don't want realism, I want magic.
Don't you stop talking nonsense.
I don't want realism, I want magic. Yes, magic.
So from there, I'll build it back up, and I'll probably bring the main melody backline in. I want to try something really quick. I want to try to move this guy over to here instead. So like I was saying before, like the key for me is always just like, where is you're just at that point where it's time to introduce something new. So that's kind of what I'm doing as I'm arranging here is, okay, I'm just starting to get a little bored from that. Oh, here's something new. Here's something new that's interesting that I haven't heard before. So that's what I'm looking for.
I don't want realism, I want magic.
Don't you stop talking nonsense.
Yeah, that makes more sense.
I don't want.
Okay, so the reason I took that little thing out is I didn't think that it needed both that little pad line and the little guitar fill to lead into this. And if I was only going to use one, it makes more sense to use the pad because this is a top pad part. It's these two pads are split. So one does one thing, the other thing does the other thing, and they kind of overlap. So it made more sense to start with that to feed into this to keep it interesting. It didn't really need this. Now the next problem that I'm having is that I'm losing voicing on the little vocal, which I definitely think I want going into that breakdown.
I don't want realism, I want magic.
So I didn't really notice not having the percussion there. I am going to try one other thing, see if that makes a difference.
I don't want realism, I want magic.
Don't you stop talking nonsense.
Here's what I think I'm going to do. I think I'm going to do it just on that end there. Because I didn't really notice when the percussion dropped. I didn't feel like it made a big difference. And in fact, since we drop it here, I might not need to even introduce it again until later.
I don't want realism, I want magic.
Don't you stop talking nonsense.
Here's what I would like to do. I would like to, well, actually, I don't know if I made a variation of this yet. Let's take a look. And I did not. Okay, so okay, so I want a version that's just the shaker. Oops. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna shift. So I made a custom track. I'm muting those two. So now it's just the shaker. And I'm gonna send this back. So now I have a pink version. So that's what I'm gonna do here. That's one reason I'm losing voicing. I have a lot going on in that one.
I don't want realism, I want magic.
Don't you stop talking nonsense.
Okay, so I don't know if we're gonna be able to arrange the whole song. It just,
I don't want realism, I want magic.
like I said, I mean, I spent hours in here. We're probably
you
coming
stop
up on
talking
close to an hour
nonsense.
already. But I think this gives you a pretty good peek into my process and how we're working. What would I do from here? I mean, obviously, I'm going to finish arranging the song. I think this one's going to be longer than normal. This one might actually go over 4 minutes. Ah, wouldn't that be a miracle? But basically, what I'll keep going from here, I think I'm going to want to obviously drop back into drums after this part. And I'll probably keep the melody with the omnichord and the piano and the bass going for a minute. And at some point, we're going to want to drop into my little OP1 melody, which is this guy. But things get a little spooky when it does that. So I think it'll actually kind of change the tone of stuff, which is cool. It'll take it from being in one place and you know, go somewhere else with it, which is always a fun thing to do, you know, is to kind of mix things up. And then, you know, at some point, I'm sure there's a breakdown. Again, break it down. You know, it's all about dynamics. It's all about creating interesting transitions and just driving interest. If you really think about it, this whole song is just a couple loops that play some counter melodies and do stuff. So when they lay on top of each other, they create a completely different sound. And it's about finding those moments. It's about being able to stretch that out from being, you know, a 4-bar loop or an 8-bar loop into something completely different. That's what I'm going for, is that, you know, how can I stretch that out? How can I keep it interesting for the longest amount of time? That's what I'm always looking for. The last step I would do after I have the basic structure, that's when I'm really going to go in and I'm going to focus on drums. I'll probably start creating some fills, figuring out where I'm going to drop stuff. I mean, I'm doing a little bit of that here. Like, you know, I got just the kicks, the kick snare, where it drops the kick for there, you know, it starts building back up. I'm doing a little bit of that, but it's just rough because it adds to the structure now. After I have the whole thing done is when I'm really going to focus in on there and being like, okay, right here, we got to do a fill, reverse cymbal, whatever. Like, we got to do some custom stuff. And then the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look for opportunities to do automation. And the way that I like to do that is, and I'll just give you an example, like right here, if I wanted to automate some stuff on the piano, I've got a plan already, right? So I know it doesn't drop till right here. So what I would do is I would create a full length one here. I'd make that a custom track, and then I'd go in here, and in here I would record the automation, and it'll go across all those loops. So that's how I kind of approach automation. I'm going to go ahead and undo that because that's not what I'm going to do right now. But that's something that I would do at the very end. Anyway, I mean, I hope this was helpful. I hope it gives you a peek into how I approach arranging a song and how I go from taking, you know, a simple loop and making it into something much more that's hopefully, you know, more magical and more enjoyable. Yeah, let's take one more listen, and, you know, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe, and I'll definitely post a link to the final version of this track, as well as my song series playlist where you can hear other similar tracks to this. It's all really chill stuff. It's super cool for, you know, studying or work and playing video games, whatever. Anyway, thanks again for joining me. I hope this was helpful. Here we go.
I don't want realism, I want magic.
Don't you stop talking nonsense.